but that's all I can say.
You talked about your youth and saying that there's no blueprint to flipping Texas. So, I mean, you don't have a magic ball, but you were a child the last time a Democrat won statewide. What do you have to do different that Beto, Allred, all these other people didn't do?
So one of the things that I talked about, and let me be clear, I don't have anything negative to say about our former nominees, but we typically have had people that had great resumes that jump into the race, and then Texas is very expensive. They have spent a lot of money to make sure that they could let people know who they are. We, for the first time, have a Democrat that is entering this race who is already known, and some people are like, that's good and bad. Right? But at the end of the day, people know what they're getting. That's why I can reference even this email from a Republican, and it's not the first time. I've got stories of Republicans walking up to me in airports and telling me there were even Trumpers. One of my most recent encounters was an African, well, I think he was an immigrant who was black, and he was a Trumper. And he cut through line to get to me and wanted a selfie, and he told me that he loved me. He said I needed to lay off Trump because he loves Trump too. And at the time, we were in shutdown. And I said, please make sure you go to your local pantry then, because they need some help. But the point is that I think that we have to, number one, recognize that I came from East Texas. My political career in Texas started there. I served on the ag committee. I done been, y'all ain't seen the pictures yet, but I done been on the farms and drove the things. I've done this, right? I've also talked to our farmers and ranchers since I've been in Congress. I know what their pains are. I understand that, and at the end of the day, I am going to do everything that I can to make sure that people do not get distracted. That is what I am good at when it comes to communication, is making sure that we can focus, because they are going to try to distract. They're going to say I'm loud. They're going to say I'm leftist, when you can check my record, and my record is good. My record is a Texas record. And so I just plan to go work and work hard. I always run hard. This will not be any different. I will run harder than anyone has ever seen in the state of Texas, because I'm going to take all the goodwill that I've put out all around the country, and they are all ready to jump in.
Hi, Shauna Mizell with CBS News, Congresswoman. What was the margin of error on that polling, and do you keep Cornyn as the strongest opponent, because you didn't mention
I'm not telling you who I think is strongest, because at the end of the day, I plan to win. So whenever they hobble out of their primary, and the reality is that who knows what it's going to look like, because we're talking about, last time I checked, and y'all correct me if I'm wrong, there are 3 major candidates in that race for U.S. Senate. That means they are headed to a runoff. Anything can happen. As we know, polls, again, snapshots, anything can change. So this is about doing the work. We will see who comes out more bruised or not, right? But at the end of the day, they're about to beat each other up, and I am here to watch them devour each other while I try to not only unite the Democrats, but also make sure that Texans understand this is about putting Texans first. This is not about voting for what used to be the party of Ma and Pa, when right now, that's not taking care of you. This is about putting yourself first and making sure that you can survive, making sure that you've got food, making sure that you've got access to health care, and making sure that your kids have an opportunity to get the education they deserve. That's what it's about.
Question from AP. Republicans think your clashes with them publicly are a liability. Ken Paxton called you crazy Crockett. What's your response to that?
Listen, if they're not talking about you, then you ain't a threat. That's the reality, right? So just continue to watch, because they are going to attack one person in this race. It's going to be me. And if you've ever watched any elections, no matter what kind of elections you've watched, the person at the top is always the one that's catching the heat. Just know that they have looked at the numbers. Think about the fact that they are bragging about how many black and brown people they have been able to bring into the fold when Democrats were not making the investments, when Democrats were not getting candidates that would actually excite black and brown communities. They went down to South Texas. They made investments there because they know that their racist policies, well, it's not too many people that side with that. So they distracted, they divided, and they went and they pulled in black and brown people. Let me be clear. In all polling that I've seen, and somebody have to correct me if I'm wrong, I can tell you my polling for sure, and many other third-party polls, I do the best with black and brown folk. This state is 61% people of color. When we look at Beto and how close he came before everybody starts talking all the nonsense about moderates and progressives, none of that matters. Again, I just told you about the Trump voters that somehow vote for progressives as well. This is about who people believe in. This is about who they believe is going to fight for them. And so when you look at the numbers, Beto got 65% of the Latinos. He got approximately 90% of African Americans, and he came closer to getting that nomination. When we look at the closest race, it was because those demographics turned out. And so while it is that I am going to obviously fight to represent everybody like I always have, there is a specific appeal that I have to the coalition that we need to win. The same coalition that produced a governor in Virginia, the same coalition that produced a governor in New Jersey. When you look at the numbers, that is what we are going to make sure that we don't do, that other Democrats have done, which is ignore those communities or take those communities for granted and just believe they're just gonna show up and do what needs to be done.
To piggyback from his question, Governor Abbott on the attack, saying that that you're going to lose and that at the end of the day you're going to end up on the View. Your reaction to his criticism?
I mean, I just want to say thank you to the governor for believing that I can go get a salary doing something else. So many MAGA people have said I was going to have to go to McDonald's. So, I mean, this tells me that I have a future beyond McDonald's. No, in all reality, again, this just talks about the threat that I present. They know the numbers. They've seen how people mobilize. They know that my party has sent me all around the country for a reason. They know that in a very historic way, I am the 5th highest fundraising member of the United States House, and that's not something that normally happens with a young African-American member of the House. They know who I am. It's the reason the president started saying my name. They know. I just need Democrats to know, and I need them to believe and get to work.
There was a moment during your speech where you became emotional, when you were brought to tears. It's something that we don't get to see from you often. Take us into that moment. What was going through your head? What was that about?
Yeah, people, listen, if you limit me to a viral moment or some sort of clip that you've seen on social media, then you don't really understand the layers and the depth that go with me and the love that I have. I do this not because of a title. I never really sought any of the titles that I got. If you know my story, you know that it was my predecessor who actually called me up to run. I wasn't looking. I was a freshman in the U.S. House. in the State House. But I remember even when she called me, I was very nervous. I was very nervous because I had become so close to the 177,000 people I was representing. There were people that really became like family, like the 2 little girls y'all heard from today. And so I was like, I'll never have that. I'll be in D.C., it's far, and it's 766,000 people. And then I did that, and we got close. Like, there's so many people that are relying on me, not only in my district, but other districts. The fear has been real about losing my voice. People from all over the country, but I can't allow fear to paralyze us. We have the potential to do better. We shouldn't just settle for what we know we can get. We've got to shoot for the stars in this moment, and so it is emotional because there are people that are going to try to limit me down to just, I'm out here doing something, and I'm not. It is very difficult for me to leave my district, but frankly, they decided to divide my district. This is about payback for what they decided to do. They decided that they were going to take our voices away. They were going to limit African-American voices to 1/5 the voting strength of our Anglo brothers and sisters in Texas. They decided that they were going to limit Latino voices down to 1/3. But let me tell you where they are all equal. They are all equal in that U.S. Senate race. This is about doing right by all of us, especially Texans that are hurting.
The story behind the slogan.
Jasmine Coquette, députée représentant un parti démocrate là dans l'État Texas qui déclarait le jeudi pour poste sénateur dans le pays les États-Unis. Actualité, c'est malheureusement et que n'a pas partagé avec vous actualité ça qui dominé ici aux États-Unis et dans les pays étrangers rapides. Nous avons dit que député Jasmine Coquette lui-même qui représente le Parti démocrate là dans l'État Texas là, eh bien, lui déclaré jeudi pour sénateur dans state ci là pour le représenter Parti démocrate là. Et il rappelait aussi l'histoire de député Robert qui était lui-même qui était représenté parti en tout qui était dans course pour sénateur qui était raté occasion mais Mazel dit lui-même lui entrer dans bataille là pour le gagner et il pourrait faire tout ça qui dans pouvoir pour le gagner. Il souhaitait que les démocrates accompagnent le même genre que les républicains pour jouer toutes les quatre que gagnent contre lui dans le cadre déroulement élection si là. Comme vous connaissez information pas capée sur réseau pour la Pstars radio et télévision, n'a pas continuer à informer au demande pour être ensemble avec vous. Ensemble avec nous alors un peu plus tard à partir de 8h là on peut gagner santé plus avec Mme Marcelin Joseph et puis à partir de 10h nous va retourner pour que nous capables de présenter au Pstars Family Support à 11h30 n'a gagné seulement aujourd'hui qui lui-même a pu accompagner dans le cadre heure de combat sur réseau